Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at this DR all-terrain mower. It's like a brush cutter, a brush hog. This is one of the first edition ones that was made by them. We got everything running and sent it out. It comes back. He says he only used it about 20 minutes and now the blades won't engage. We're going to check that all out, show you exactly what's going on and how to fix that if you have this issue on your DR brush cutter or any other brush cutter out there. They use kind of the same design for the blade engagement system. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons as we go along if you enjoy the content, and thank you for watching. This mower fires right up and it runs great. First thing I checked was the blade engagement lever and the cable. And it looks like it's a relatively new cable. There's no rust or anything on it. And everything else on this machine was pretty well rusted out. The safeties have been bypassed both here and at the other handle, which I did let the customer know was not safe. But this thing should engage and we can hear it moving down below. So we've got to open the front and figure out exactly what's going on. Take the front cover off, just has one wing nut. When I said these are the first generation DR brush cutters, they did sell like a Bachtold type design. But they did tell me when I called that this all-terrain mower, this is the first one, that sticker's holding half of the metal together. We can see pretty quickly what the problem is. The cable and the spring is intact, but the bearing is completely gone on the clutch. Now I did quite obviously start taking this apart before I decided I was going to do a video on it. That bearing's completely gone. I stopped right there though. I'm going to take our 1/2 inch. There's a nut that holds that to keep the clutch in place on the back side. Just a little nylon lock nut. And then we've got a 15/16 on the top. I've already loosened that. Doing the inspection. And then we have our cable. This cable is in great shape going all the way to the unit. Again, I think it was replaced in the near past. Spring holding that together. These clutches, if you buy them as a whole assembly, they're right about $400. But we don't have to do that to fix this. We can fix it another way. Now that we've got that all off, everything should pull straight up and off. I'm going to remove, you got to watch out because the balls for the clutch will fall out. And those basically, I was going to show you where they sit. And then I don't know where that one went to. Back in the back somewhere. So these sit in the grooves, and that's what actually engages your clutch. You want to not lose those. I'll show you how all that goes back together too when we get a little further. We've got a little piece here, but this should just slide right up. Got balls of the bearing all falling apart. Guess I should get that belt off first. To get my belt free, I'm going to remove the 9/16 lock nut. I think we actually put this one on here when we checked it out. The thing I was kind of worried about is how far this belt, or how close it was to the other side of the belt when it was tensioned. I did relay that and we were told just get it going and they'd worry about anything else that happened from there. This spring just hooks to the other side. There's a little stud. Got our belt nice and free. Just going to kind of roll the belt off down below the pulley. Now that we have it off, we should be able to, yeah, so the whole clutch assembly, it'll come with all that other stuff attached too if you leave it attached. That is our clutch assembly. So here we are at the clutch. I found the other ball that fell. And we've got this in a washer here. This is actually, it just kind of spins. Not sure exactly what that stuff does, honestly. But our plate can't come up and off at all because the bearing, inner race of the bearing, is actually in the way. This should slide freely, but we need to get this inner race here off so we can replace that bearing. We'll essentially push the outer race of the bearing out of this side, and we'll reinstall this like such and push the bearing back down on to solve at least that bearing problem. And then the other one, let's see how it sounds. So that one needs replaced too. This one is just as easy though. It's just got a snap ring to hold the bearing in. You remove the snap ring and you can take the bearing out from there. To remove this inner race, one of the easiest ways is just to notch it and cut it off. That's what I'm going to do just with my rotary tool. I'm going to just go at an angle and cut me a nice notch and get it to pop off. I think I'm probably just deep enough where all I have to do is get a screwdriver in there. Yep, just pop it. Just kind of twist it a little with that screwdriver. Pop that bearing right off. There's the inside race. Now I did barely nick where it sits, but that's not going to be an issue. All we were trying to do is break that all the way through. And that's what we did. We just barely got that one spot against the shaft, but we actually broke the inner race of the bearing when we put that screwdriver in there and turned it. That is free now. If you wanted to, you could pull this plate all the way off, check out everything below, make sure nothing's in bad shape or rusted up too bad. Everything's looking good. Don't see any issues there at all. Now the outer race should really just be kind of almost barely held in there. Yeah, it all kind of pushes together. And we've got a new one to go down on there. On this, all you have to do, if you don't know the bearing size, is you measure the inside diameter of the bearing, the outside diameter of the outer race, and then the width. And it's always going to be in millimeters. That'll tell you exactly what size bearing we have. This one happens to be a 6006. I've got a Timken here to replace it. That actually doesn't seal extremely well down there. It was just kind of caught with a little bit of rust, I think. I think it just sits there. It's kind of held together by the bolt and everything once it's tightened down. It is exactly how it should be, though. I don't think I'm going to push this back together or put that bearing on until we get that other bearing replaced. I think I might even actually just pull this off, set it and the spring to the side. Come over to the vise, set it down in, and we're going to take off the snap ring first. Take that out. Not sure where my snap ring pliers with the bigger nipples on them went. We've got that out. Now we can actually drive this whole thing through the backside. I'm going to get a dead blow and we'll just hit that. If you don't have a notch in this side, I always like to make sure you know which side goes back where. We have a pretty good notch, so I'm not worried about it. I'm going to try to catch this as it comes down too. Missed that. Luckily it dropped on the bearing. Usually you're going to have a shield on it. If it hasn't exploded, that's going to tell you exactly what size bearing it is. Again, otherwise you can measure the inside diameter, outside diameter, and width. This is a 6206 bearing. That is some pretty bad stuff. Can move that to the side. Just get that down, and I'm going to grab a punch so we can get that out of there. Just going to hit right along the inner race. There is a washer in between the bearing and that middle gear. And then I'm not even sure what that is. It almost looks like a piece of plastic. Not really sure. Barely caught it. Yeah, some sort of metal shim, just a real tiny one in between there too. And now we've got to get our bearing installed here and into the clutch on both sides. To install this, I'm not going to pinch that. We don't want to mar up the shaft, but we'll put it on here. I've got a nice, I call it a bearing driver, but just a piece of brass so it's softer than the bearing. You don't get any nicks. You can actually just use a punch and go around the outside. It's a little more dangerous though, because if you damage the inner seal, it'll actually ruin that bearing. You don't need to clean the shaft up or anything. As soon as you hear the change, you know that you're good. And that is perfect. We'll get this put back down in there. If you've got a big enough pipe where you can put it over the outside, that would work too. I actually do right over there, I believe. Otherwise, you can just use a punch all the way around. Got to have something pretty specific here if you're going to use a pipe, because you've got to get it down past the actual metal that holds the bearing. Most of ours are just like a Schedule 80 pipe. I think that brass one that I just used was something that was left over from, I can't remember, something I worked on recently, or in some kind of something. Again, you got to be really careful about that, not hitting that seal, not ruining the bearing. If you do, you're going to need another bearing. You always hear that change whenever you hit where it's completely sealed. You can hear the difference. Perfect. Snap ring back in, and we are ready to put the other one back together. Now we can put the rest of this back together. If there's a super large amount of rust on there, you can clean all that up. This one's not too horrible, I don't think. Now we can get this all put back together, our spring, and then our plate. There it goes. Everything should spring pretty freely. Back up to about that location. And now that we've got it back on there, I'm going to take out our 3 ball bearings. Clean this all up real good. Just quite a bit of debris in here. This all stays pretty well good. Doesn't really need much, but I do like, that's what this is dried grease in here. You do want to clean that, and then you want to put just a dab of grease right down in there. You don't want any grease in any of the other locations on this. You don't want to grease around here or anything. It's just going to attract dirt. But you do want these balls to be able to move. Just use a little wire brush, might work a little bit better. All right, wipe them all completely out. Great. And I've got just a dab of grease in there. It's not much, just enough to keep these nice and lubed. And what we do to put this all back together is we're going to go with those balls installed and go right into here. We want to clean up this side too. Quite a bit of junk in there. Sorry I'd show you this, but kind of hard without getting, as I've gotten here, a bunch of stuff all over where we need to install. Got it cleaned up. And then so the tab goes kind of downwards as we're installing it on the inside. And this whole thing is going to sit, well, I guess I need my washer. And then this piece. And then it's going to sit just right down on there. And that's where it goes back together at. Now, it is spring loaded. So what I normally like to do is I'll grab a clamp and hold this down. And then I'm going to push this onto the inner race. The outer race, it's not actually sealing. The bearing's just kind of holding it down in there, because it's pressed onto the inner race. So what we'll do again, just get this big clamp. I think for the other side I have just a smaller one. I think this will work. Yeah, it will. And we're going to punch that on there. Almost there. There we go. And we are completely down flush. Take that off. Maybe. There we go. And there's no play. It's sitting all together. So we should be able to, we can move this, rotate it fine. And then if we pull this all the way, you shouldn't be able to, basically when you're rotating the bottom, this shaft's not moving first. So if I hold it, the shaft's not moving. But if I spin this, the shaft does move. So it means the clutch is working properly. I would like to replace this belt, but unfortunately I can't. But I did get the okay to go ahead and replace the idler pulley. I mean, there's just nothing left. That's going to explode in no time. That belt may last a while. Kind of the same thing as before, though. We sent it out last time saying, hey, there's more that needs to be done. And he essentially just wanted to get it back operating. It is not the customer who brought it in. It's actually his neighbor's. But I believe he was using it for a project he had. Just trying to get done. Use my 9/16. There is it's a bolt that goes all the way through, so get that off. And I've got a similar pulley, not exactly the same over here. Should be close enough. Just a hair bigger because I'd like to get that belt a little bit further away from the far side. I do need to actually put a bushing in it because it doesn't have one now. Got a bushing in it. I'm going to put a washer just on the bottom because this one didn't come up quite as far as the original. So washer, my bushing, and then the idler pulley. Looks like we should be about right. Put a washer on the top too, because this barely covers where that bushing's at. You wouldn't want it to fly up and off. Good, spins nice and free. Now we're going to anti-seize. I always like to use some of this anywhere that you're going to have to take it back off at some point. It does get everywhere. Only thing I don't like about the spray version, put our key in there, and then we'll line everything up. Move it about like such. Hold this key as I'm lining it up going down. Make sure we can go down all the way. There we go. We'll bring this around to line it up. We'll need our spring. Goes on just like such. I think I'm going to put it in here first. And I'm going to drop that down off and then come back to it. You should get just a little bit of slack there until you tighten up the cable up at the handle. And we'll put our belt back on the bottom. Just going to rotate it on. It does look like we've got quite a bit further space in between our belts when we're going to be tight. We'll put our spring back on. Going to go like such. Looks like it rolled off again. I'm going to come with a spring puller and get it back on. Yeah, I guess it's still about the same amount of distance there, so we didn't save much, but that's okay. I tried with just that little larger pulley I had. Sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it. It didn't make it any closer, I can tell you that much. I still don't particularly like how close it is, though. We've only got maybe a ½ inch in between the two belts when they're fully tensioned. That's good, maybe. I'll put our lock nut onto here. Use our ½ inch to tighten it up. Now we'll put our washer and our nut right back on the top. Tighten it down with our 15/16. I'm going to hold the blade when you do that. Final installation. I did pack a little bit of grease into the idler arm fitting. That one had already been packed for the bearings, the main ones. We're looking pretty good. Just kind of slides on the top. Perfect. Get the remaining ball bearings off of the decking here. I think there were only a couple I saw, but there we have it, guys. We got this customer out the door for just the price of a couple bearings and an idler pulley, as opposed to putting a $400 clutch on it. It's a win-win for both of us. And this mower, despite being extremely old, is not replaceable for a small amount of money. It's a very large purchase if you're going to replace this machine. And this one doesn't have that many hours on it. It's just been sitting around for a while where everything was all kind of rusted up, gummed up, and everything else. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons if I helped you out, if you enjoyed the content. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great rest of your day.